Our postcard today is from Skibo Castle in Dornoch in the county of Sutherland. Who would believe that I'm sitting here in the far north of these islands in the county of Sutherland with the sun streaming down at me? And it's bliss here, isn't it, Angus?
Always bliss. I've been here 26 years now, and I love it every day. Summer, winter, beautiful.
Skibo Castle. Tell us the origins of this place.
Well, I think you have to go back to the 10th century when there was a Viking here by the name of Sigurd. He lived here, was killed in battle, buried somewhere on this estate, not found, at least yet. And it was he who gave the name Skibo. Ski means water or a harbour, and bo means a homestead. So here we had a homestead near the water, and that's why we have the name today. Well, he, as I say, was killed, and then the next person of importance, and we're talking now about the 13th century, was Bishop Gilbert. Bishop Gilbert looked after the cathedral in Dornoch. It was then Roman Catholic, of course, so it was a cathedral. And he had a retreat here.
So was there a monastery here then?
Not a monastery, no. This was simply his, Bishop Gilbert's house was in Dornoch itself, but this was simply a weekend retreat.
But Bishop Gilbert's residence was nothing like what we've got here, was it?
Not a bit, not a bit.
So what happened between
Much smaller.
Bishop Gilbert and the person who built this?
The next most important man was the Marquis of Montrose, who was captured near here during the Wars of the Reformation. And he was taken off and hanged in Edinburgh, but he stayed here overnight, and his existence here is recorded on the stained glass windows. Then, when we got into the modern era, sort of 1900s, then we would get the castle being built, and every new owner, and there was 3 or 4, would knock down a bit, and I had a bit knocked down a bit. And then in 1898 we had Andrew Carnegie, who came here from America, retired with £400 million sterling, an astonishing amount, said to be the richest man in the world, and he was only 5'2", which is pleasing for someone like me.
And me.
Oh, yeah, but I don't have that kind of money.
Let me just stop. You just said he came from America, so he wasn't a Scots,
So,
a
yes,
Briton?
Yes, he was born in Dunfermline.
In the Kingdom of Fife?
In the Kingdom of Fife. His father was a weaver. He had a loom out the back of his house. But this was the time of the Industrial Revolution, and he simply couldn't compete. And they got poorer and poorer, and Andrew's mother was at the stage of taking in shoes for mending. And this couldn't go on, of course, and they simply borrowed money from their relations, and they went out to the States. And he started then as a boy in a bottle factory. And by good fortune and assistance, he must have been a popular young lad, hard-working, always grabbing opportunities. And he just went on. The employer, a man called Scott, gave him the opportunity to buy some shares in railways, and he got the taste for this, and he simply went on from there. And by the time he was 35, he reckoned he could have retired. That's an astonishing story.
Andrew Carnegie hated royalty. He despised aristocracy. The reason being, of course, he'd worked himself up from nothing, just with sheer guts and discipline and dedication. So why should anybody get something for nothing in this world? To which he applied for his own coat of arms and motto. The motto was to read, "Death to privilege." The College of Heralds declined his request, which meant no coat of arms for Andrew Carnegie. And here, his coat of arms should have been up there on his castle, but to this day, it's one big blank. He was a great benefactor and philanthropist, wasn't he?
Very much so, yes.
And you can see this around the house in places like the library, with the books. Tell us about that side of him, this person who I think wanted to spread knowledge, didn't he?
That's right. Well, he only had, I think it was something like 4 to 5 years education in Scotland before he went away. And he had no general education after that. Now, there were no libraries, public libraries in America at that time, so he begged and he borrowed books, and he was self-educated, and this was always in his mind, so that when he was able to, he then started broadcasting this knowledge through libraries, which he would present to cities throughout Britain, throughout America. I think it was something like 3,000 libraries which he gave, and because this is the way he learned, and this is the way he wanted other people to have, if they had the interest to learn. And this was throughout his life. He would always help people if they had the interest first. He would never give you a handout. You know, if you said, Mr. Carnegie, can you give me a fiver? He would say no. But if you said, look, I've just bought this cart and I wish to sell vegetables from it, will you give me a fiver? Then he'd say, yeah. If you have got your foot on the ladder, he would help. But no handouts.
The library here in Skibo is one great big thank you to Andrew Carnegie, who spread the enlightenment of knowledge around the British Isles and also the United States. He gave money for libraries to be built and furnished them with books. And the thank you here comes from 57 British and Irish cities, the United Kingdom of Britain and Ireland, as it was then, whose coats of arms are carved, not all of them, but some of them, around this room, because they gave him the freedom of their city or borough or corporation as a thank you to him for what he gave to them. Above me is Dunfermline in the Kingdom of Fife, the place where he was born, and either side two great Scottish cities, Glasgow and Edinburgh. He seemed like a tremendous socialite. Lots of people would come and visit from all walks of life, cultured, industry, commercial.
Yes.
They'd all gravitate towards his home here in Sutherland.
That's right.
And that's depicted again by the amount of rooms and bedrooms in this castle, isn't it?
Yes, yes. They're not so many as you might think. They're all to the front of the castle, and they're very, very spacious, but very, very comfortable. And we've been very fortunate here that we've been able to retain so much of the furniture, so much even of the carpets. That you wouldn't believe that the carpets laid down 100 years ago, we can still walk upon it.
And wallpaper and curtains.
Yeah, and wall
the
hangings.
original, isn't it?
All original. Baths. And we're very proud of the fact that we've been able to retain that, and also to retain the atmosphere of the Carnegie.
It's a living museum in a kind of way, isn't it?
Yes, yes, it is. The staff aren't necessarily living museum pieces.
No offence, Angus. Tell us a little bit about the castle, though. When you walk into it, you get this feeling immediately almost of a medieval hall, like a banqueting hall with big fires and a staircase with stained glass windows. It's almost like a cathedral.
It is, yes. What we find is there's quite a number of people who come here for the first time, and so they start the long drive up to the castle. And some, especially from overseas, can find this intimidating in a way, and they see this vast pile in front of them. But when they come in, they all say that they have this magic, which we can't always account for, this magic that when they come in, and as you say, the fires are on, and we have an organ playing also, as you know, in the hall.
It's like Phantom of the Opera.
That's right. And it's all the wood, and it's a warm feeling, and we like to think also that the staff are welcoming to make people at home.
Angus, the castle itself, wonderful place to visit. Do we know where Andrew Carnegie's favourite places to go within the castle or within these beautiful grounds?
Well, certainly the library, again because of his early associations with libraries, and that room which we see, which is behind us now, that was his study, and he spent many, many hours there plotting what to do with his money, I suppose.
There is certainly a magic here, and it's an old, cheesy, corny old phrase, a magic. Every place has its own magic, but this has a special one, I think, for many people who come and visit.
Indeed, yeah, very much so. And a special magic for the people who live here.
You know, Andrew Carnegie was a bit of a socialite, bit of an understatement. This book of guests and visitors who've come here to the castle is chock-a-block with presidents and prime ministers, kings and queens, the high and mighty, the movers and shakers of all the past century. You've got King Edward VII, Queen Mary, you've got Woodrow Wilson, you've got Prime Minister Gladstone, you've got Rockefeller, you've got Vanderbilt, you've got all kinds of people who've come here because the Carnegie magic was a magnet for people, not just then, but also now. Even now, to this day, you have so much that Carnegie would have wished for when it comes to knowledge and spreading the word of somebody who wanted everybody to share in education. But you know, it seems rather strange to me that for someone who was an advocate of British republicanism, that there should be so many people who were titled and privileged, just the kind of people that he basically wanted to get rid of.